Okay, so we're going to move on to the next assignment, which is Raster 2772. Okay, so this one says 2772 Hampton Street, West Sacramento, California. Use a map site to zoom into the property, i.e. Google Maps. Take a snapshot of the site, being sure to get the scale of the drawing or image. Save it as a JPEG, import the raster image into Dynascape Drawing, trace the house, property line, and driveway, add a new entry walk, patio to the back, and turf area. Be sure to use close polylines. Open in Dynascape Color and color the drawing, upload it as a PDF. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight this 2772, copy, and then I'm going to go into here and I'm going to do a paste. You guys like my screen, my wallpaper there? Yes, my daughter did that for me. Cute kissing bunnies. Okay, so here I am. Here is a Google map, and I'm going to zoom in on this house. This is not my house. Okay, so I've zoomed in. This is 2772 Hampton Street. You can see that I live very close to this. Yours will not say this when you do it. Okay, so I'm going to switch it to satellite view. Okay, so there is the house. And what I'm going to do is, just like it says, I'm going to take a snapshot. So this is where I will use the snipping tool. What are all these little tools? Mouse pointer. Mouse pointer. Highlight clicks. That's good. I like that. Okay, so now I'm going to go into my snipping tool and click on that, and I'm going to click on New. And now this screen has gone gray, and I'm going to create like a window. And I'm going to click high enough so that I can get the entire property as well as some adjacent properties and the scale of this. Okay, it says 20 feet down there. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with that. Okay, took a snapshot. I'm going to do a file, save as. And let's see, I'm going to start a new folder that is 2772. And I'm going to go into this and I'm going to call this 2772. Okay, so what that did, now I can close out of this snipping tool. And now I can go back into Raster 2772. So what I've done here is I've used a map site to zoom into the property. I took a snapshot of the site, being sure to get the scale of the drawing, saved it as a JPEG. And now I'm going to import the raster image into a Dynascape drawing. So we're going to go back into Dynascape. Here's the Anna and Andy project. I'm going to do a file, new, drawing. And I'm pretty sure that I can probably get this one onto a D-size sheet, scale 1 inch to is equal to 4 feet, so a 1/4 inch scale. Okay, so I'm going to click OK. So here's my new drawing space. I'm going to do a file, save as, drawing, and I'm going to go to 2772, and I'm going to call this 2772. So now, let's see, I was already in imaging, but if you're not there, you can go into imaging on the side tabs here, imaging, and then I'm going to import a raster image. Okay, I'm going to navigate to that raster image, and I'm going to double click on that. Make sure my constraints are off. Everything else on is fine. And I'm going to bring this image in as big as I can, and there's the image. Okay, so now what I need to do is I need to scale this thing. This is why we took this snapshot, to be able to get our image in, as well as sorry, we took the snapshot large enough to be able to get this scale in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to check that scale, right, with our Happy Clown measuring tool, click in 2 spots. So that's a click there and a click there. And it says 11 feet 4 inches. So this is actually quite a bit larger, okay, which is fine. I think it'll still fit because the size of this property is really only about like this. And that's about the size of the property. So I think it'll fit in there. So I'm going to stick with it, but I am going to rescale. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of that outline that I did, and now I'm going to rescale. Nope, wrong tool. So this tool here is resize an existing raster image to active drawing scale. I'm going to select that. I'm going to zoom in to my 20-foot mark here, and I'm going to do a click and a click. Okay. And something drastic happened. What just happened? Oh, I know what happened. Let's see what happened. There. I missed the step here. It's a little teeny one. Okay, so let's try that again. So here we go. I'm going to click on that. Here's what I missed. Okay, so I told it that that distance was 1 inch. The distance is indeed 20 feet. Okay, I just put in a 20, enter. That gives me 20 feet. Now I'm going to zoom in on this 20 feet again. And I'm going to give it a click and a click. And that fixed it. Okay, you can see that the overall image is outside of the drawing line. And you know what? I'm fine with that, I think. Okay, because I think once we trace it, again, this is going to be about like this. Once we trace it, that's about the size of it. And I'm going to rotate that. I'm going to rotate that. So that should fit within my drawing space. A little big, right? But I bet you if I like got it in there, I'd be able to fit the whole thing and get labels top and bottom on this landscape plan. Okay, so I'm good with size. If I feel like I need to scale it differently later, I will. So what I'm going to do now is I need to trace the driveway, the house itself, and the property line. Okay, so trying to think of what I should start with. Well, what I'm actually going to start with is I'm going to double check the scale here. Okay, so I'm going to double check this and make sure that this is reading at 20 feet. Yeah. Okay, 1911 and 27:30 seconds. That's very close. Now, we can't really rely that well on that 20-foot scale, right? I mean, how close can Google really be from 8 million miles in the air? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to this Google map, and I'm going to drop my little yellow man right down here so I can take a look at this house. And this is the house. Okay. So what I'm looking at is I'm looking at this line here. So this is the driveway that we can see in that aerial view, right? So this is that line right there. Okay, and then this line here. And I'm looking at that and where it comes in relation to the garage door, because garage doors are, a 2-car garage door is almost always 16 feet on the money, okay? I know that you may not have known that, but you know it now. So this is a good way to like reference some things. So here, this line comes in at the interior of the garage door. And then I'm going to drive over a little bit and I'm looking here. Same thing. That line comes in right at the interior of the garage door. So I'm pretty sure that this whole driveway is 16 feet wide. So I'm going to go into Dynascape. Where are we here? Dynascape. I'm going to zoom in and I'm going to check this width. Okay, I'm going to see if this is 16 feet. Whoo, Google's good, huh? 16 feet and 29/64. So that's a ½ inch off, and I was probably a little sloppy about how I measured that. So I'm pretty confident in my scaling here. Okay, so what I use this for is to get a quick base sheet if I need to generate quick numbers without wasting time measuring. And here's how you actually do it. So we can see here, you can't really see like the property line itself, right? Here we have a little bit of a fence that I can see. And here I can't see the fence line at all. Okay, but I can see the fence line of the neighbors, and that one goes straight. Okay, and I can see this fence line here of the back neighbors, and that one goes straight through here. What else can I see? I can't really see the true fence line here because it's blocked by, looks like Italian cypresses. So I've got 1, 2, 3 fence lines to go off of. Okay, so I'm going to use my property line, and I'm going to use a line tool first. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do for the line tool. I'm going to give myself lines on each one of these, right? So this is the top of the fence here, and it's very challenging to see, but that's like, that looks pretty straight, right on top of that thing. So I just gave myself a little reference line there. I'm going to come in here, I'm going to give myself a reference line here. And then I'm going to give myself a reference line right on top of this fence here. Okay, so that's, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to, so from the line tool, I'm going to click and hold, and I'm going to go to draw a line parallel to. Okay, draw a line parallel to another line. And I'm going to zoom in. What I'm doing here is I'm going to select this line. Okay, I've got inference settings on. I've selected that line. I'm using my parallel line drawing tool. Select that line. I'm going to hover over the end of it. I'm going to give it a click, and it's going to draw a line parallel to that line. Same thing here. Line parallel. And then I'll go through this one slowly so that you guys can follow along. Here's my reference line of the only fence line that I can see. I'm going to give it a click to select it. That's the line I want to draw parallel to. And then I'm going to hover over this as the end. I'm going to give it a left click, and then I'm going to draw that line back. And then I'm going to do the same thing to bring that all the way out. And there we've got 3 property lines, and it's an odd shaped lot because it's kind of on this bend here in the road. Okay, so this is actually kind of a weird property line. And then finally, let's see, the property line for the front is going to be at, let's just say that it's at back of curb. And luckily that looks very straight. So there's our front property line. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw in my house. Let's do that, okay? So in this case, usually we use the building tool for this, but instead of using that building line tool, I'm going to use the line tool. I'm going to switch to building layer, and I'm going to switch this to a lighter line weight, like an 1/8 inch line weight. Now, reason for that is I've got an odd shaped lot and an oddly angled house, right? So I can't just use polar and trace right around it. So I'm going to do sort of the same method as I did for the property line to get that in here. I'm going to do the same thing here, and I'm going to use like a long straight run that I can see. I'm going to give it a click. So this is a reference line. So there's my click. And then I know that this house comes out to about there. Okay, and that's pretty straight. And the reason that I'm using a lighter line weight is because we're tracing around the eave, and what we'd actually be designing on would be the house itself. And the eave overhang is usually about 18 inches. So I'm using a light line weight. I'm going to offset it to the inside when I'm done drawing the perimeter here. And then I'm going to call that the building perimeter line. Okay, so now I'm going to go in. I'm going to use a similar tool as the parallel tool that we used before, but now I'm going to be using the perpendicular tool. Okay, so it's the same process. I'm going to left click on that line to select it, and that's telling it I want to draw a line perpendicular to that line. I'm going to hover over the end, and then I'm going to draw a line to the end here. Now it's not exact, but it's pretty darn close, right? That's not bad. It's mostly has to do with the angle that this picture was taken from, and we can't fix that. Maybe we can, but I'm not going to try. Okay, so I'm doing a left click to select it. I'm drawing off of end. I'm drawing back into here. So the next spot on the house, left click, click, and this one looks like it jogs in a little bit. What the heck does this house do? Okay, so we just drew to this corner, but we've actually got this one coming out here. So I'm going to make sure I reflect that. So I'm going to actually have to switch this to the parallel line. Click on that. Draw it all the way out to about there. I know that that looks strange, but once we offset it in, it'll work. So again, click to select. I'm going to change it back to the perpendicular line. I'm going to draw off of this. And I'm going to draw it wild. And then I'm going to do perpendicular line again, but I'm going to come off of this line here. I'm going to make them cross. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim them back to each other. Okay, so I've got a closed poly here. Well, I've got several lines. I'm going to make it a closed poly. So I use my joining tool. I'm going to click, click, right click. Okay, that just joined those two. So click, click, right click. That just joined those three. Click, click, right click. Join those four. Click, click, right click, and so on. Okay, and I'm just doing one at a time. Because a lot of times when you use this tool and you select too many lines, it'll kill the program. Okay, so now this is a closed poly. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to offset this 18 inches. I'm going to copy it. Okay, so that's offset in 18 inches. Now I'm going to offset it another 3 inches. Copying again. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to revise this line weight to the active layer, or to the layer selected. Remember, the layer is building. Okay, we're using a building layer, but we had modified its line weight. So I'm going to revise it to by layer. And so now what we've got is we've got 3 different lines. One is the eave overhang. The next one is the building outline, right? So that would be our base, and I might as well get crazy and revise it to the base. And then finally, we have a 6-inch line weight building in here. Okay. So all good there. Now we're going to do the Now we're going to do the driveway. Okay, so I'm going to use the perpendicular line. I'm gonna try and draw a line off of this perpendicular. Oh, that looks clean. Okay, and then same thing off of this corner. That's not very good, is it? I'm gonna cheat that one a little bit. There. Okay. I'm not building a rocket here, but I'm trying. Trim that back. Okay. And now I'm going to switch to a closed polyline. And I'm going to trace over this whole thing. Okay. So now I've got closed polylines. Okay. And so I've got basically everything that I need, right? Let's double check this. And we've got a, what had I asked you to do? Raster 2772. Import, trace house property line driveway, add new entry walk, patio in the back, and turf area. Be sure to use closed polylines. Open Dynascape color the drawing, upload as PDF. Okay. So where I'm at right now is I'd still like a couple things on this drawing in order to feel like I've done an amazing job. So same thing, I'm going to do a closed poly, but I'm going to do the sidewalk here. Driveway apron. I'm just basically tracing the curb right now. I like that. And then I'm going to give myself a little trace around the turf area here. Okay, this is all just so that I can get, once I bring this into color, it'll color up really easily. So I'm getting like all the pieces that I know I'm not really going to change. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to save it. And now I'm going to do a new drawing at 1/4 inch scale, 24 by 36. And I'm going to go into my previous drawing. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to select all of this stuff. Everything that I just drew, I'm going to select. And I'm going to do a file copy, or you can do a Control C. And then I'm going to go into wherever that drawing is. Close this. Save, file, close. There we go. So that drawing that I just went into, I'm going to do a Control V or a Edit Paste. I'm going to plop it in there. Okay, so there we got it. And that's our base sheet that we just took from Google. Okay, so this is really handy if you're going to visit a site or a client for the first time. It's, spend 15, 20 minutes putting a base sheet together. That way you can show up on site with a base plan already made up that's already relatively accurate, and you can make notes on this as you walk through the property. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and straighten this out a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to draw a line here. Remember, I have basically all closed polys. So I need to draw a line on top of this one. Okay, so I just drew a line on top of that one. And I'm going to use this angle measurement tool, and I'm going to click and right click. And it tells me that that line is 319.67 degrees. Okay, so if I want to adjust this and try to get this house to be square, I guess first off, let's put a north arrow in here. Okay, north would have been straight up in the map view. So here we are. I'm going to exit street view, and so north. Here's the house. North is straight up. Where is north? North is always straight up. Okay. So that's my straight up north. And now what I'm going to do is this just told me that it's 319.67 degrees. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a calculator, and I'm going to do 360 degrees minus 319.67 degrees. You're probably not going to have 319.67 degrees. You'll have something close. But if we subtract it by 40, or subtract that 319.67 from 360, it's going to tell us the number of degrees we need to be able to get this thing square. So I'm going to go into rotate objects by angle. I'm going to turn copy off, and I'm going to go into, what was that number again? 40.33. I guess another way to do this is use the calculator here, and we can do 360 minus 319.67, enter, and it gives us that 40.33. Now I'm going to highlight everything. I'm going to select everything. I'm going to right click, and that rotated it by that. It's a little off, doesn't it? What the hockey sticks is that? I guess this line is 0, huh? Line angle is 360. I want that line angle to be 0, but that's pretty close, right? Now you can really see like how screwed up that property line is, right? Relatively square, the west and north property lines, but this east property line is pretty screwed up. Okay, so you can do what you want in here. I'm going to do a very quick patio. Here's my patio. Why don't we use what we should be using, Chilla? Thank you. Walkway patio. I'm going to do a revise. I'm going to change this patio into a walk patio layer, and then I'm going to be using that, and I'm going to go ahead and do a 4 foot. Let's do a landing here. Okay, so let's just go full landing. Square that up. Okay, so there's a nice big courtyardy landing, and then I'm going to draw in a entry walk that's 4 feet tall, which ends up being 4 feet wide. I'm going to start it from, let's go midpoint. That looks nice. Okay, and then I'm also going to do I'm going to clear this out. I'm going to go for a 3 foot wide walkway off of the driveway. And I'm going to call it right there. Oh, I need some turf in here, right? Lovely, lovely turf. So let's just try 12 by 12 and see what that looks like. Right about there. Oh, that's good. And then I'm going to do I don't want any turf in the backyard. Okay, so I'm going to move this guy to where it needs to go. Using the move copy tool, I'm going to kind of relocate where this thing sits within the whole grand scheme of things. I'm going to trim these property lines back to where they should be, so I've got room to label. And trim, and then I'm going to bring in a title block. That looks good, huh? Okie doke. Graphic. Okay, and I'm going to do a file, save as, And I'm going to do this as 2772, but I'm going to call it 2772 base. Okay, and might as well throw in a couple shrubs so it's pretty. Shrubs, 6-footers. Let's go with some 3-6, maybe 4-6. There we go. And copy forward, and there, and there. So it's sort of creating this like tight, edgy space. Sustainably, we would not do this, but for our intents and purposes right now, I'm trying to get through this as relatively quickly as possible. I'm going to do it. Bad. And let's go with a couple big shrubs. And we'll throw a tree in there. Trees, figures. Trees, no shadows. Got something substantial there. And what if we did this? Bring it to the front there. And then I'm going to copy that and bring it there. Okay. Now we're looking sort of cool. I'm just going to call it there. Okay. I am going to make my life easier by clustering these. And cluster, 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 cluster. And now I'm going to do a file save, and then I'm going to go into Dynascape Color. And I'm going to do a file, new, ARC. I'm just navigating to that file, 2772 base, and now I'm going to color. So let's go with asphalt concrete. Let's go dark gray, dark gray, dark gray, dark gray, dark gray. And then I'm going to go to, let's go to roof. That sounds like fun, huh? I'm going to do that as the roof. And I'm going to change the opacity of it. And I'm going to bring it to the front, send it back, bring the front. There we go. And select it, change the opacity. So let's see what's going on under there. And what else do I have to do? Some shrubs. Let's go white here. And let's go with the deeper green for these ones. And then we need to go to trees. And let's go deep green on these ones. I do want to change the opacity of that so I can see the shrubs below it and the hardscape below it. And then let's show what the curb and sidewalk look like. So back down to asphalt concrete. I'll select that, and there's that. And then let's get some turf in there. Mulch turf. Here's turf, turf, turf. Yeah. Okay. So a lot more that you can do with that, but you can see that if you do it decently, then you can get these kind of sheets together very quickly. So I'm going to do a file, save presentation as, and 2772 color. And then I'm going to do a file, save, print, and I'm using my PDF writer, so maybe let's do it like you guys would be doing it. So I'm going to save present, export, PDF. Park D, landscape, okie doke. And it's going to be 2772 final. And I'm going to go in here and try and find it. Let's see what that looks like. Looks good. Okay. Cool. And then I'm going to file and upload that. So that is the process for those for this one, the 2772 tracing. Let's go back in and look at what your next one is. So this one is upload as a PDF. So you guys all know how to do that. And then the next assignment is Raster Home. Okay, so the Raster Home, you're going to be doing this. On this one, we used a house that nobody's familiar with. So this would be like as if you would visit this site or have never visited this site before and haven't met with the clients yet, but you want to get something together for them. If you have visited the site before, then this Raster Home one should be a little bit easier for you. So use your home or a home that you're familiar with to be able to do this. Okay, so because you know the nuances of the place that you live or someone else lives that you're familiar with their home, you should be able to execute this in the exact same way, upload as a PDF, and then do the same thing, submit it. So that's it. I'm not going to go through this Raster Home one because you can just repeat the steps from the Raster 2772, but with a property that you're familiar with. Okay. Again, on these ones, I'm not looking for like absolute precision, but I'm looking for as close as we can possibly get. Okay, so next videos that I'll try and upload are going to be on Project 5, customer takeoff. We'll go into SketchUp. I don't know if I'm going to burden you guys with this city resubmittal because you guys might go crazy. But we'll work on, I'll pick whether we're going to do Project 5 or customer takeoff next. Maybe we'll jump to Project 4. I'll check it out, but this is good for now. I will try to upload the next ones by the end of the week so that you guys can keep on going.